Do some of your former Democrat colleagues, do they agree with you, not just about the Second Amendment, but sort of all the things you talked about, sort of, how the party left you, their hills to die on are, clearly very different than so many things that would actually be of interest to the American public and the American people. Are they with you, or do they just, on board with defunding the police and open borders? And I've noticed the Democrats, they're really good at just getting in line, right? They don't argue. If they get 51% of what they want, they take the win, and then they start chipping away at it the next day. Where, on the Republican side, they can be 99% in agreement, and some guy will blow up the entire thing. Sometimes, just politics, you got to take those incremental wins. Are there some former colleagues of yours that are more common sense, or is that just sort of just out of the Democrat Party these days because it's the only way to survive?
No, I know that there are some, but I can't tell you how many, because the Democrat Party leadership has done such a powerful job in forcing them to self-censor, in creating this culture and atmosphere where if you don't fall in line, you'll face the consequences. I experienced some of this myself from my very first year in Congress in 2013. I talk about this in my book in a lot of detail, but also I've had members of Congress, even as I was running for president of the Democratic primary, where the Democrat Party leadership wasn't very happy with me, to say the least. Hillary Clinton set her sights on me, was trying everything she possibly could and using
That's
all
like
of
a
her
badge
people
of
to
honor,
try to
just so we're
destroy
clear.
me.
But
I know.
maybe now more so than then.
It is. It is. But even back then, as all of this was happening, I was still in Congress. So I would go and I'd go on the House floor and cast my votes, and had some of my Democrat colleagues, as I was walking, I know you've been on the House floor, as you're walking around that back corner, there's a little spot there where the C-SPAN cameras don't catch. And they would pull me aside and whisper in my ear and say, "Tulsi, you're doing such a great job. Keep it up, but don't tell anybody I told you this."
Yeah.
And it's just, we can laugh about it, but it's really quite sad, because it shows how weak these people are, who've been put in a position of great responsibility to serve their constituents and serve the American people. And instead of doing that, they're more focused on serving the wishes of their Democrat Party bosses.
So how do we change that? I mean, you're 100% right, and frankly, the Republicans are guilty of the same thing. I hear Mitch McConnell telling people all the time, Ukraine is the number one issue for Republicans across America. It's like zero Republicans across America outside of D.C. think it's a number one issue, but it doesn't stop them from legislating accordingly, right? They have all that power. How do you change that? How do you change it in the Democrat Party, which frankly I think much more organized and it has a lot more sort of groupthink and just towing the line? How do you make that an inroads into that to get people to break from that? Just, hey, this is the byline and we're sticking with it.
Look, the number one way is to hold them accountable, and you hold them accountable both at the ballot box and forcing transparency while they're in office. Don't let them off the hook. They go to Washington and they live in their little bubble that's completely out of touch with reality. They pat each other on the back and say, "Hey, good job. You're doing this and you're doing that. And thank you for your leadership," and all this other stuff, when the consequences of their policies are actually harming the American people. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to put that 1 + 1 = 2 in their policies and the consequences of those policies, and the fact that they are not serving the interests of the American people. We've got to hold them accountable at the ballot box. They think that we're so stupid that they can go for 3+ years with a completely open border, and then now, just months before a general election, come and say, "Hey, we're the tough on border security party. We would have done this sooner if not for the Republicans," giving us all of these excuses and lies, because they really think we're stupid, Don. They think the American people are stupid and that we'll fall for whatever lie they throw out at us. So the number one thing we have to do, there's a lot of changes that need to be made, but the number one thing we have to do is not let them get away with it, because if we do, they're going to continue this nonsense. And you think it's bad now, it'll only get much worse.